Hi, everyone. I'm Lydia. Today, I'm so honored to be able to introduce our first speaker of the day. Not only is she an incredible and successful barrel racer, she's an inspiration to youth and adults all over. We are so fortunate to have Amberly Snyder as our keynote speaker for this year. Welcome to Winter Roundup, Amberly. We are so excited to have you.
Well, thank you, Lydia. I'm excited to get to speak with you guys this morning. And before I start telling all my stories, I actually just want to play a little video that my mom and my sister have put together that really just shows the journey I've gone on with my horses from the time I was little until I ran in that American rodeo in 2015. Oh, might have to let me play it.
Everything comes down to love. Then just what am I afraid of? When I call out your name, something inside awakes in my soul. How quickly I forget I'm yours. I'm not my own. I've been carried by you all my life. Everything rides on when the world has broken me down, you set me free. When my life is like a storm, rising waters, all I want is the shore. You say I'll be okay and make it through the rain. You are my shelter from the storm. Oh, and that's on everything rides on somehow. When the world has broken me down, you set me free. Everything rides on fate somehow. So when the world has broken me down, and your love sets me free, and everything rides on everything rides on fate somehow. So when the world has broken me down, your love sets me free.
So I'm going to start by telling you all a story about my first date. Now, I'm pretty sure the majority of us that are listening are not old enough to have gone on our first date. But those of us who could be are, or when you guys go in the future, think about it for a minute. Were you or will you be nervous? If you say no, you're lying, because even if you think you are a stud muffin, you will be nervous on your first date. I was going on my first date in a wheelchair, and I'll tell you what, I was nervous. I was thinking there were so many things that could go wrong. We go out to dinner, and so far everything is pretty great. I mean, I'm looking great, he's looking great, we're looking great together at this point. We go outside the restaurant, and lo and behold, there is this curb. Now, I know how to go down a curb. You get in a wheelie, you get right up next to it, you pop on down. Pretty simple, right? Now, before I continue this story, I need to make sure we're all on the same page in here. So any boys should know, in all things, in all times, and in all places, whether a boy is around or not, it will be their fault. So I'm in a wheelie, I'm getting ready for this curb, and this boy says, "Hey, Am, do you need any help?" Well, I have gone 18 years of my life being very independent. I mean, my first horse was a pony at 5 years old, so I could saddle it by myself. And now here I am in this situation where I need a lot of help. Made me pretty frustrated. So I told that boy, "No, I've got this." But of course, he distracted me. So one wheel went down before the other. Now, when that happens in a wheelchair, you flip over. So here I am, flipped over on my parking lot, and in this parking lot on my back, thinking, oh my gosh, my nightmare just came true. That boy looks at me and says, "So, do you need any help now?" I said, "Yes, I'm gonna need your help to get back up." So he comes in front of me and puts out his hand. I said, that's not going to work." I don't blame this poor boy. He doesn't know if he should be laughing, crying, or pretending like he didn't see this happen. So I said, okay, I call it a princess carry. You're gonna need to put one arm underneath my knees, one arm behind my back, and pick me up. I thought for sure he was strong enough for this task. Lesson learned. He was a bull rider. So he comes over, he puts one arm underneath my knees, one arm behind my back, and he does in fact pick me up. But then we both looked down at my wheelchair, still flipped over. His solution at this point is to kick at my wheelchair. He's kicking at it, kicking at it, kicking at it. He finally gets it up. The brakes weren't on. So it starts rolling across this parking lot. Just picture this. Boy carrying girl chasing a wheelchair across the parking lot. This is what is happening on my first date. I am freaking out. We finally get my chair caught, and he sets me down in my chair, and only then does this couple walk out of the restaurant. So I thought, okay, this has to be funny for me now, right? I look at that couple. I look at that boy. I turned back to that couple and said, "Can you believe this kid? He just dumped me out of my wheelchair." He was petrified. But I will tell you what, there are experiences in all of our lives where we are that person that's knocked down. We are that person that needs that help. Don't be afraid to ask for it when you need it. Sometimes I feel like our wheelchair has to tell us that asking for help makes us weak. But really, think about how you feel when you get to help someone. Why keep that from another person? It's okay to ask for help and always be willing to offer. So speaking of helping, I want by raise of hands, and I can't see everybody's screen, but I can see a couple. If any of you saw someone who needed help or a girl in a wheelchair flipped over, would you help her? Everyone better have their hands up back there. I'm going to show you a video where I tested this out. I flipped myself over at different spots on campus when I was going to school to see if people would help. I'm going to show you guys what that looked like.
You know, don't nothing come easy. You gotta try real hard. I try hard. guess I gotta try hard. I try so hard, can't seem to get away from misery. Man, I try so hard, always be a victim of these streets. It ain't my fault, cause I try to get away, but trouble follows me, and still I try so hard. Hoping one day you'll come and rescue me, but until then, I'll be posted up right here in Sleep Hill Zoo. But until then, I'll be posted up right here. Killing people dying, children hurt, and you hear them crying. When you pray, you preach, but you turn the other cheek. Father, Father, I can't kiss away the pain. No one's standing by you forever. That's why I'm making this art. I can't take it, see it, don't feel right. SOS, please someone help me. It's not healthy. That's why you are making this hard. You got me tough and concerned, I can't sleep at night. It's time, please someone come and rescue me. 'Cause you on my mind, it's got me losing it. I'm lost, you got me looking for the rest of me. I'm obsessing me, but still I'm losing it. This time, please someone come and rescue me. 'Cause you on my mind, it's got me losing.
So I will tell you, in that video, my professor did know I was going to flip myself over because of this thing we call the bystander effect, where you look to a parent or a teacher or a friend to decide if you should help someone. When in all reality, if you see someone who needs help, be willing to be a hero. Be willing to be that person who steps out of their comfort zone, or maybe out of a crowd, or maybe even if their friends don't want to help someone in need. I needed a hero when I flipped myself over. There will be moments where you might need a hero, and there will absolutely be times where you can be a hero. So now I want to tell you guys about what I say is one of my favorite years of life, which is 2009. It was my senior year of high school. In Utah, you can run for a leadership position in the Utah FFA Association the year you graduate. So I ran against 26 other members, not only was elected, but was elected as the Utah State FFA president. During that year of office, I traveled around to different high schools and realized how much I loved to teach. I was able to go on and get my undergrad in agricultural education and then a master's in school counseling. I mean, I discovered the love I have for teaching kids. Secondly, I was competing in rodeo. So I've been riding horses since I was 3 years old. I've been competing in rodeo since I was 7. I can tell you, it's not what I do, it's a part of who I am. You think about what you love to do, what absolutely makes you happy, and this is what my horses do for me. So 2009, I made it to the National High School Finals, which is one of the top 4 and every event can make it to. And a week later, I made it to the National Little Britches Finals and came home with everything in that bottom picture. 2 saddles, 11 buckles, and a finals and worlds all-around title. Only one person gets to leave the world all-around cowgirl, and that year it was me. So I'm telling you what, I'm on top of the world. I can't even imagine life being any better. Icing on the cake, I graduated high school with a 4.0, which is a goal I'd always had. Not only applied to colleges and was accepted, but was offered scholarships. So for me at 18, life was perfect. I mean, I wouldn't change a thing. Well, this picture right here, this is January 10th, 2010, right around 10 o'clock in the morning. I'd been offered a job in Denver, Colorado, and I was going there to work for a couple of weeks during the stock show. I stopped in Rollins, Wyoming at a gas station, and when I got back in my truck, I made a decision that definitely changed my entire life. I wear my seatbelt all the time. I mean, my truck will ding at me if I don't have it on. But this morning, I'd had a stomachache all morning, and I thought, I'm going to take it off just for a minute. Less than 10 miles down the road, I was going through Sinclair, Wyoming, when I looked down to check my map. When I looked up, I'd faded over a lane and was heading towards a metal beam on the side of the road. I grabbed my wheel to correct my truck, and it just sent me sliding across this highway. I thought, if I can keep my truck from rolling, I'll be okay. So I grabbed my wheel with both hands and I'm bringing my truck back straight. And for a moment, I thought, okay, I've got this. Right then, my back right tire caught the dirt on the side of this highway and pulled me completely sideways. So at 75 miles an hour, my truck is picking up off the ground to start rolling. At 18 years old inside of it, I'm thinking this is it. I mean, I'm gonna die right here and there's absolutely nothing I can do about it. I closed my eyes and I could hear the banging and crashing going on around my head. I felt myself pick the window. At 70 miles an hour, this is what I hit on the side of the highway. I hit it across my stomach, folded around it, broke it off, and carried it another 20 feet with that fence. When I opened up my eyes, I saw my truck. I thought, I'm so glad I'm not in there. If I had been in there, maybe I wouldn't be here. Well, I didn't get knocked out during this entire thing. So as I'm sitting on the side of this highway, I thought, I better do a self-evaluation, right? I landed in this snowbank with my feet out in front of me. So I felt my head first. I was thinking, okay, I remembered everything. I thought I must be all right there. I looked at my hands next, moved my fingers. They were okay. Lastly, I looked at my feet, tried to move my toes. Nothing happened. I started pinching around on my legs to try to feel something, but all I felt like is I was in warm water from the waist down. I knew something was truly wrong. But I had to wait. I had to wait for somebody to come and find me, right? The first person that shows up, he got on the phone with 911. The second man, I told him I had a blanket in the passenger side of my truck. I don't feel cold, but I've got to be going into shock. The third woman is walking up to me and I asked her if she had a phone. I said, I've got to call somebody. On her way to me, she actually finds my phone and I decide I'm going to call my dad. This is how this phone call goes to my dad. Hey, Dad. He said, hey. Said, so I got in a car accident. He said, okay, how bad? I said, pretty bad. I rolled my truck. He said, are you okay? I said, I can't feel my legs. He said, Amberly, are you paralyzed? I said, Dad, I don't know. I'm just telling you that I can't feel my legs. At that point, the cops showed up at this accident site, so I told them I had to go. They loaded me in the ambulance and they took me back to Rollins, which is where I very first heard the news, right? The news I was pretty sure I already knew, but nobody had said out loud yet. I'm laying on this hospital table and the doctor walks in. I don't even think he was talking to me, but he starts talking about being paralyzed. I said, well, wait a minute. What are the chances of me feeling and moving my legs again? He said, slim to none, but more than none, and left the room. So at 18 years old, I'm laying on this table by myself, trying to take in that information. I mean, how am I going to finish my year of office? How am I going to ride my horses? I can't spend the rest of my life in a wheelchair. They loaded me in a Life Flight helicopter and they took me to Casper, Wyoming, where I went through 5 hours of surgery, which left me with a whole lot of hardware on my back. When I woke up from surgery, my mom was there and we said, you know, within an instant, I had gone from this girl This is one of my senior graduating class pictures. You know, the girl with the world at her fingertips? To this girl. Neck brace, broken back, on oxygen, can't feel my legs. Not sure what the rest of my life is supposed to hold. So I spent 10 days there in Casper before I was finally strong enough to fly back to Utah for my physical therapy. The very first day of therapy, my nurse walks in my room and she says, Amberly, we need to set some goals. I told her easy. Walk, ride, rodeo. I said, that's all I care about. She looks at me like, girl, you have no idea how hard this is about to be. Now she was right. I had to set smaller goals, like being able to move myself from my chair to a bed, or to learn how to wheelie, or to put my pants on or brush my hair. I mean, everything was hard. But I set those smaller goals so I could get to my bigger ones. Now, the first one was walking, and I didn't leave that hospital walking like I planned on, but I do have leg braces, a standing frame, and a track chair that makes it possible for me to stand with my horses. Not perfect, but it's okay for now. But along the way, I have learned that sometimes things aren't going to come in the way that we plan, but that there are small victories every single day, small accomplishments that we should celebrate all the time. So I started recording my little accomplishments, things that I was learning or relearning how to do in my chair. Real life things like opening up doors, going down ramps, and then pieces with my horses. Saddling, unsaddling, feeding, bridling, anything you can think of, I needed to figure out. So I want to share with you one of my most favorite Wheelchair Wednesday discoveries.
This is my rope horse Wrangler. He's shorter than my barrel horse. If you guys have been following my Wheelchair Wednesdays, you know that. So at some point I'll try it on my barrel horse, but right now it's just on Wrangler. So granted, this is only like my 4th time doing this, so we're still a little rusty, but anyway, it's still pretty cool. So in order to do it, I have to reach up on this ladder that's on my trailer, reach my saddle horn, pull myself up, and I can land on the saddle. So it's gonna work.
So I will tell you what, that was something I did not even know I was capable of until it happened. I have learned that some of the coolest things we will do in our entire lives is when we go outside of our comfort zone, push ourselves to that limit, and are willing to work hard for those accomplishments. Sometimes I think we imagine what we're capable of, and maybe it's just this much. But take one more step, add one more thing, and maybe your accomplishment and what you're capable of can get even bigger. You decide what you will accomplish. You decide how much work you can put in. You decide what obstacle you can overcome. I challenge you to do that. So it took me 4 months to get to my second goal, which was riding. Now, I wish I could tell you that once I got on the back of that this was the greatest day of my life and everything was perfect. But I cannot lie to you. That day was harder for me than the day they told me I would never walk again.
You don't want to listen to it?
I realized every part of my life was different. So I went through the modifications, started with a seatbelt on my saddle, Velcro straps around my legs, my feet rubber banded in, a nylon strap across my left hip, and I sit on a seat of air like my wheelchair seat. All of these pieces hold me centered and protected in that saddle. So I rode a little bit through that first summer, but in about August, I had an experience that made me pretty frustrated. I mean, frustrated enough that I told my mom, sell my horses. I said, if I can't train them like I used to, I'm not going to have them. Now, of course, my mom knew best and she did not sell my horses, but I did 9 months without them. Now I have to put a pause on that story so that I can tell you another one. So I've always joked with people that it doesn't matter if a horse bucks with me, right? Because I'm strapped in, I cannot fall off. So about 4 years ago, I was on a 4-year-old horse, and while I was riding this outside horse for someone, she got spooked. And when she got spooked, she whirled. Now my balance is still one of the toughest things that I deal with. So it kind of threw me off on the side of her, which of course scared her again. And she decided to buck. Well, for about 40 seconds, this horse has me kind of whiplashed on the side of her and I cannot fall off. So by that night, that was me. Definitely not my plan when I thought I could not get bucked off of a horse. 2 days after this, I decided I want to get back on, not her, was not going to ride her again, but a different one. I want to get on Maximus, my trusty steed, my rope horse. That's who I wanted to ride. Well, this day on Maximus, we're out riding and a little bird flies out and he spooks. Now, nothing bad happens except for in that moment, my heart sank. I have never been scared on a horse's back in my life. And right then, I was terrified. I went home, I got off my horse, and I thought, this is it. This is the end of the Amberly Snyder story. Because you can't ride horses and be scared. They'll know. So this is where I get to brag on my family a little bit. In my family, baseball is kind of a big deal. My dad played Major League Ball for 8.5 years. My brothers both played in college, and the one brother still plays for the Colorado Rockies. In the sport of baseball, you will fail way more often than you will ever succeed, because you will strike out more often than you will ever hit a home run. But knowing that doesn't keep these players from walking up to home plate. So I thought, Amberly, you've been raised to be tougher than this. Even when the odds are not in our favor, we move forward. Even when things look tough, we dig deeper. If you love something enough, you should never give it up. This applies to every single one of you. If you give up today, you'll never know what you could accomplish. You never realized how close you were to success when you gave up. That could have been tomorrow. That could have been in a week from now. It could have been in your lifetime. You have to choose to continue moving forward. So I will tell you, I went those 9 months without my horses. And then I got a call from a reporter asking me if she could actually do a story on me with them. So I decided I needed to get back on so I could get to my last goal of rodeo. And I've had amazing experiences back in that arena. I breakaway rope. I want to introduce you to the horses that have gotten me to where I'm at. So the horse on the bottom left, that's Maximus. He's my rope horse. He's the one that got me back into breakaway roping. He's retired now, but he really gave me the ability to rope again. The horse on the top right, that is Legacy, AKA Legs. He is the horse I run now professionally across the nation. We get to compete against the best of the best. The only paralyzed barrel racer in the entire United States. So I do not get my own category, though sometimes I wish I did because I could win a lot more often. But this horse has allowed me that it doesn't matter if I'm strapped to my saddle, I sit in a wheelchair, I can't even kick my horse. I can still run with some of the best in our nation. I want to show you one of mine and Legacy's most recent runs, which was just this last fall while we were in Vegas. There was over 600 runners that day, and we were able to win it. So I want to show you that run. So for me, that was just a reminder of what we're capable of. I still have setbacks. I still have hard days. I still have days where I get so frustrated. But hold on to those moments that remind us that we are capable of more. So of course I have to introduce you to the last horse. His name is Power. Power is the only horse that I've left that knows me before and after my accident. He's the horse I first started competing back on after. He's the horse that gave me the ability to run again. He is the horse that we ran in the American in 2015 as the fan exemption. He is the horse that made us famous enough that Netflix made a movie about our story that came out March of 2018. If you guys have seen that movie, it is called Walk, Ride, Rodeo. Thank you for watching it. If you haven't, get it together, because I know everyone has to have Netflix. I'm going to show you the trailer to that movie. Now, of course, I couldn't play myself because it would have been pretty hard to be my pre-accident self, but I was able to be my own stunt double, and my little sister was my pre-accident stunt double. But here's the trailer to that movie.
If we play this right, we have a real shot at Rookie of the Year.
That's a first place finish for Emily Snyder.
I want you to call me when you get to the hotel. Whoa. Thanks. I'm sorry. What's that?
Learn to love that chair. That is your freedom.
Maybe you could do something other than rodeo.
Rodeo is who I am. Baba, get over here. Mom, will you promise me that I'll ride again? If I have to strap you in that saddle myself.
This is our
We don't always get to choose what happens to us, but we do get to choose what we do next.
So I was asked once if I still get nervous to speak. And I think I only get nervous when I speak to elementary school monsters or children or whatever we might call them. And that is a few of you listening today. But one day when I got done speaking at an elementary school, the kids were able to ask me questions. So there was this tiny little second grader on the front row raising his hand so politely. I called on him expecting that horse's name, favorite color question. But he asked, if you could go back to that day and change it, would you? I will tell you what, up to this point, no one had ever asked me that question. And here was this tiny little boy wondering. The first thing I wanted to say was, yes, absolutely, without a doubt. Why would I want to spend any time in a wheelchair? But before I replied to them, I thought about the good things, the places I've been, the people I've met, the opportunities I've been given because of this silly chair. I couldn't trade those. So I told that group of kids, no. I said, I'm a true believer in everything happens for a reason. There's a reason I'm in this chair and I'm going to serve that purpose. And by the way, I have no doubt in my mind I'm going to walk. It's not if, it's just when. But I will tell you what, there will be moments in all of our lives where maybe we don't understand why. Maybe we don't understand the challenge that we're facing or even a loved one is facing. Those are the moments we have to trust. Trust that there's a purpose and a reason. And sometimes that reason is bigger than us altogether. But I want to challenge you guys something. The next time you have a moment of fear or doubt or frustration, dig a little deeper. Let somebody help you find the light in the darkness and keep moving forward. Because there is no future in giving up. And with that, thanks for letting me speak with you guys today. I think we get to do questions now. So I'm going to exit out of here so that I can get on the chat box.
So if you have questions, if you could enter them in the chat for Amberly, that would be great. I'm sure there will be lots.
And thank you guys for those who have watched the movie. Any questions? You'll have to write them on there for me. How many times have you been to the NFR? I haven't been there. I haven't not run in the NFR. I've watched it a lot of times. So I have not been able to run in it yet, but that is one of my goals, is be able to make it to the NFR to run. Really.
And I heard the question, do you still race?
Do I still race? Yes, I actually, once I get off here, I am heading to one today. So yeah, absolutely. I have 2 horses that I run now, Legacy and Penny. Power's pretty much retired. So yeah, Penny's already loaded up in the trailer on the way to the barrel race, and I am going to be running her later.
Is there a certain saying or verse that helps you get through hard times?
Oh, you know, I feel like there's a few. You know, there's a, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. That one I hold on to a lot. With God, nothing is impossible. Luke 1:37, also one that I hold on to a lot. But as far as quotes, I mean, just knowing, for me, there's no future in giving up. That's why I like to share that one, because that's one of my favorite ones, that you'll never know how far you could have gotten if you stopped. And I try to remind myself that a lot when I get frustrated and think, oh my gosh, I don't know what I should do next. I tell myself I'll never know if I stop here. So I do love those. Great question. Thank you for that one.
Do you have a dog?
I do, actually.
And what's his name or her name?
Her name's Ellie Mae, but yeah, she's just sitting here sleeping while I speak on the floor. This is probably the only benefit of virtual stuff, is that my dog can sit on the floor next to me.
Were you in 4-H? We know you were in FFA.
I was in FFA. I did 4-H for a couple years when I was when I just moved to Utah from California. I mostly just rode with them. They would ride once a week down in the arena, and they would let me ride with them. So I didn't show anything in 4-H. I just was in FFA. Good question.
Have you accepted the fact that you are different?
You know what? I think that we all have to accept that, right? Every single one of us is going to be our own self, and you've got to love you for exactly who you are. So yeah, sure. I mean, I recognize that I have differences, but I would have known those before. So my differences, you just might see a little bit bigger on the outside than you did before. And I know I have to do things a little bit differently, but I mean, you have to love everything about you, regardless of what it is. And that applies to everyone listening. You know, love the things that are different about you.
Can you ride bareback?
I miss riding bareback. That actually is in my top 5 things that I miss the absolutely most with my legs working. And I really wanted to try to figure out if maybe I could get a surcingle, which is what like vaulting girls use. And if I can maybe figure out how to use one of those. I just haven't done that yet to be able to ride bareback again. I've sat on my horse's bareback for a couple photo shoots, but to actually ride bareback, no, I have not able to do that. And I think it would be a little too risky. I miss it so much though. Thanks for that question.
What is the best advice you have ever been given?
Oh man. My first piece of advice doesn't even apply to life. It applies to barrel racing. So I won't even share that because that doesn't even apply. I would say, you know, in real life, I feel like one of the things my mom told me once. So I was on bed rest for 5 months due to a pressure sore I got. And that was pretty bad. Like I couldn't get out of bed for anything for 5 months. And one day she came in my room and I told her, today is not my day. And she said, that's okay. Tomorrow's going to be. And that I think is one of the biggest things I've lived by, because not every day has to be your day. You're allowed to have bad days. You're allowed to have bad moments, but you just can't stay there. So you've got to choose to go somewhere else next. And that is probably one of my best pieces of advice I've ever heard.
Okay. Did you ever think you were never going to ride again?
There was a couple moments that I was not sure about that. Like when I quit and went to school, I was definitely not sure. I mean, I hoped that I'd figure it out. I knew I could get on and ride. That wasn't so much the problem. I knew I would be able to get on and ride. It was just, was I going to be able to compete? Was I going to be able to still do what I love to do, not just sit on a horse? And that I wasn't positive of for a minute, because it was such a challenge and I didn't know how I was going to get back to being competitive, but luckily it all worked out. Good question.
Do you think you will ever run in the American again?
Yes. Yes, I absolutely do. I've made the times on Legacy, but we haven't made it out of the semifinals. So I just know that that little Cowtown pen is probably not for him, but I have another horse up and coming. And I think when I have the timing right with her, then I'll make it back to the semifinals and then hopefully out of that to the American. So yes, I will.
How old are you now?
Old. I'm 30. I turned 30 on January 29th. So it's just been almost a month.
What was it like to barrel race for the first time? I'm assuming after.
I know, I'm like, that could go both ways, right? So I'll tell both. You know, when I was able to barrel race, the first time I did it was when I was like 7 on an actual barrel horse, and absolutely fell in love with it. I mean, a combination of speed and being competitive plus having a horse all together just makes me absolutely love it. The first time barrel racing after honestly was the same feeling. It was like I'd gotten all those things back and I was still able to do what I love to do. So probably both the same feeling. It's like when your heart just sings because you know you're in a place where you want to be. Great question.
How do you race your horses without being able to use your legs?
All the communication with my horses is a little bit different. So, you know, I use my hands and I use my voice, and then I use my training techniques that I have at home in order to have them get to the right spots and ride and move correctly. So when I actually get in a run, I just have my hands and my voice, and I really try to just put my horses where they need to be successful, stay out of their way, and try to be smooth. Honestly, the same thing you do when your legs work. I just don't have them to be able to communicate during the runs. I try to do the work at home so that they can go out and be successful when we get there. Good question.
What is the best advice for another horse rider?
Oh, the best advice I would give is cherish every moment. I don't know. That's probably the first advice I would give is how lucky are we that we get to ride? There are so many people in the world that just dream of having a horse. And those of us who are lucky enough to have them, we should never take that for granted and always cherish the moments you get to have them.
So I'm going to let you have just a second to catch your breath for the questions. And we've got like 80, but I also there's a lot of things intermingled in there about how awesome you are and how inspirational you are and how thankful that we are to be able to hear you and listen to you today. And there's many of those. So I'm not going to read each one, but in a nutshell, lots of them.
Thank you. Thank you. I was super excited that I was able to do this. It's been very different, you know, being home and not getting to travel around to see people. Like I wish I could be sitting in front of you guys and we could all be able to take pictures after and I get to meet every one of you. So it's definitely different what we're having to do, but I absolutely love still getting to speak and get to share my story. And I'm thankful for all of you guys who follow me on social media because that, you know, that just keeps me on the purpose, on the right path of what I should be doing.
So what's your biggest advice to go pro?
Oh man, I think one, make sure you have the right horse. It takes a really, really nice horse to be able to do that. And so make sure you have the right horse and the right setup in place for you to, be successful, because even if you're the best, pro rodeo, and it'll get at you because you're surrounded by other people that are the best. And sometimes you can feel discouraged because you're not going to win every single time. So just make sure you've set yourself up to succeed and done all of that work so that when you go in that arena, you have a capability and a possibility of doing well. That's my first advice, just so that then you can still enjoy what you do.
What is your favorite rodeo that you've been in?
Oh, I mean, the American was pretty fun to run in, and that was definitely a life change. But like that, the ones that I've been successful at, honestly, are my favorite. Or even when I was back in high school and ran at the last National Little Britches finals, that one was so fun to do because I was able to do all my events and on different days, and I absolutely loved doing that. Now, pro rodeo wise, my hometown rodeo is pretty fun. Nampa, Idaho is pretty fun. Pendleton, Oregon, where you run on like a football field size arena, that one's pretty dang neat. Those are probably some of my favorites so far.
How do you get a horse to love you when you don't see it often?
Oh, well, I live with that because Legacy likes to pretend like we're not friends a lot of the time. Like my little mare Penny and even Power, like I know that they love me. So that's easy with them. Legacy's kind of a tough cookie, and he doesn't want to admit that all the time. So it used to hurt my feelings when I felt like he just wasn't my best friend. But they'll show you like things that they love. A horse you. So when he licks and chews, when I do therapies on him, or some days when he wants to actually like put his head in my lap without me asking, you just cherish those moments you have with them. If you're doing everything you can to take care of them, I mean, you know that they appreciate it.
What breed of horse is Power?
Every horse I have is a quarter horse, including Power. So everything I have are quarter horses. That to me is the breed that I need in order to be the most successful.
How do you stay so positive?
Sometimes I don't. Sometimes I can get a little whiny or down or frustrated because I am human. But I really try to find the good in every day. So I am the type of person that I try to find at least one thing a day that makes me truly happy and allow myself to be filled with that happiness. So sometimes it's my running or riding, right, on my horses. Sometimes that's enough for me. Sometimes it's literally just sitting with my dog. Sometimes like last night we cooked s'mores on the fire. That was my happiness moment yesterday. I loved it. I mean, it's just find something every day that makes you happy and then allow yourself to be that happy. And I think that keeps you on an upbeat, positive note for every single day. Great question.
When you were a kid, who was your inspiring barrel racer?
Oh man. I looked up to Charmaine James a lot and Sherry Survey. And Lisa Lockhart. Those are probably still my favorites of anybody because they all are extremely successful and they're extremely quiet with the horses that they ride. And they're successful on more than one horse. And that I appreciate a lot too.
When you first got in an accident, did you expect to be where you are today?
No, I don't think so. I didn't know where I would be. I don't even know what I would say that I would think I would be doing. Maybe I thought I would teach, or heck, I don't know. I feel like there's been a lot of moments that I'm like, wow, this is not what I planned for my life. And it can go both ways, like in a good way or a bad way. But yeah, sitting on the side of the road, if you'd have told me I was going to become a speaker, or even still that I'm a speaker virtually, I would have said, I don't think that that's going to be what I'm going to do. Like I'd have to do something cool or be something cooler in order to do that. But I'm really thankful for the way that that's played out, that this is what I get to do. Great question.
How do you keep up with your faith while so busy with your outside life?
With my faith, that comes with me. I don't feel like your faith should ever be on the back burner. So it doesn't matter how busy you are or what you're doing. If you're not always in a church, that's okay. Your faith doesn't only exist inside the church. So you can be anywhere. You can be, heck, in the shower. You can be on the back of a horse. You can be in a car. You can be in a classroom. You can be sitting at home. It doesn't matter. Your faith always exists. And I think that as long as you keep that relationship with the Lord healthy, then it doesn't matter where you're at. That's always going to be there for you.
How many horses have you had?
I don't even know. I've had a lot of horses. I could try to count them all out, but I've had, I have the forever ones that have come and stayed and lived their life out of my place. And I've had ones that have come through. I've had ones that were just trained. Like I just bought them, trained them, sold them. I've a lot. I honestly actually don't know. I probably should count them up so that when I'm asked that, I know the answer, but it's been quite a few.
What do you feel has been your biggest accomplishment since your accident?
Some of my favorite things that I've done since my accident would probably be speaking at National FFA Convention. That one was actually a pretty big accomplishment for me. Getting back on and winning some of these races, winning like the 1D at places and placing with some of the best girls in the entire world. Those are some pretty big accomplishments for me. But then like on a more personal note, just feeling like I haven't let this keep me at a low level. I think that even just on a personal level, that has been an accomplishment for me. Sometimes I think like I'll sit on my horse before my run and I just am like, man, like I'm really strapped in here. I'm actually strapped to my horse and my legs really don't work, but I am honestly doing this. And it's funny how you have those moments that are kind of humbling that make you realize, you know what, you really do get to decide what you're capable of. You really do get to dig deep. And those I don't want to say like maybe pat myself on the back, but sometimes I do because I'm like, hey, like good for you. I really like that you really have stayed moving forward, even though this does not seem fun all the time.
Why did you start to ride when you were younger?
Oh, I just think I loved horses. I think when horses are in your blood, they're in your blood. And my mom saw that and then just wanted to make sure that it was possible and available for me to do. So we found a place that took me as a 3-year-old and I started riding then.
Do you do clinics?
Yes, I do lots of clinics. Actually, I do a lot of barrel racing clinics. Coming up right now, I have one in Pennsylvania, one in Oklahoma. Those are both in April. And I'll be back in Mississippi in October.
Do you have a cattle ranch?
I do not have a cattle ranch. I live on 5 acres, just a little small 5-acre piece that just is enough for my horses and me and my dog.
What's your best advice to another rider?
Oh, I would tell, well, like I said earlier, I would tell the riders to cherish those moments and you get to decide how hard you work. There's always going to be somebody who has more money than you or a nicer horse than you or, has more opportunities than you, but you always decide how hard you're going to work.
Where do you live?
I live in Utah. That's where my house actually exists, is in Utah. But right now, like today, I'm in Arizona. I live in Arizona from November to April so that I don't have snow. In 2 different places.
If and when you decide you don't want to barrel race anymore, what other horse activity would you do as your second choice?
I don't even have to answer that question because it's just barrel racing. I'm already strapped to my saddle, so I don't foresee there being a time when I wouldn't do it.
Okay. Would you ever consider riding in a rodeo in Minnesota?
Yeah, I would. I think that once I get these horses and the ones that I have up and running and feel confident in them consistently at a lot of pro rodeos, and I plan to branch out a little bit more and hit some more pro rodeos in more places. Just haven't got there quite yet.
Couple more questions. What do you do when you feel stuck and how do you handle it?
First, I honestly allow myself to feel upset, and get frustrated because I think that makes us normal. And I'm not the type of person that I like to just bury stuff. I don't do that well. I would rather be upset and express that so that I can get it out and then decide then what. after you've gone through being upset, after you're done being frustrated, like then what? What do you do from there? And that's where I'm like, all right, what can I control in this situation and what can I do to move forward? Like I said, find that one thing a day to make you be happy. If I haven't done that yet that day, I obviously need to, or maybe I need to go back to it. But that's what I do when I get stuck. Feel the emotions of being stuck and then decide what I can do to move forward.
Okay, I'm just 3 more questions for you. And it's come up a lot. How do you drive a car?
How do I drive a car? I have hand controls in my car and in my truck. So it's a handle that comes out of like the left side of the steering wheel, and you pull it down for the gas and you push it in for the brake. So it lets me drive. I have my car and I have my truck, and I can drive both.
Did your priorities change after your accident?
Some of them, yeah. Yeah, I think so. Like my personal goals didn't change of what I want to do with my personal life, but where I spend my time has definitely shifted all the time. I am not always with my horses, but I love doing things with my siblings or my friends or my family. So wherever they are, I like to spend time with them. And I think that it's important that even though I do love to ride and I have my goals there, that it's okay to take a couple days here and there to go do something else, whether that's, you know, go to Disney World or literally just go into town and spend a day going to the movie with friends. Or, I mean, I feel like we have these goals and I think that that's great. We should strive for those, but don't forget to enjoy like the little moments along the way with life. And I think that's where my priorities could have shifted, because I think that there is more to life than just barrel racing, and even just horses. There's more things, and it should be important to you to have those relationships and have the love in your life that continues to just make you happy as well. Good question.
Last question.
Okay.
Have you competed against Fallon Taylor and have you won?
I have competed against Fallon a few times and it's gone both ways. She's outrun me before and I've outrun her before. So yes.
So excellent. I know that there are other questions that we didn't get to, and I apologize for that. We just have lots of kids and lots of interest in you. We do greatly appreciate you spending your morning with us and inspiring us to be better riders, continue on with what we're doing. These are messages I heard from you. Be positive, work through all of the struggles that we might have. But if there's any parting words that you would like to share with us, we would welcome those.
Oh, I would just tell you guys that I know that this past year has been kind of different. You know, not all of us have been able to even be around each other or get to do what we love to do all the time. And that's hard. That makes for a lot of unhappiness that can come into our lives. So, I mean, I think my last words of advice is just hang in there and find things that make you happy regardless of where you are, because every single one of you deserves to be happy. Every single one of you has value. And so hang on to that value and hang on to that happiness, because times will be getting better and we'll all be able to hang out. And next time, maybe I'll be able to come and see you guys in real life. So I think just look forward to those things.
Thank you very much, Amberly. We appreciate your time. There's lots of thank yous, good lucks, have fun, enjoy your rodeos, and we appreciate your time this morning and sharing your amazing story with us.
Thank you. Thank you for that. See you later.